Hello, in this video I want to talk about the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia and his tumultuous actions and behavior. As we all know, the man grew up with a lot of wealth. He always, sat around his father. He didn't do anything unique. He didn't do anything special to become leader. He basically just took over after his father left the government. But if you follow his track record, he's done some very stingy, very manipulative, very corrupt things as the new leader of Saudi Arabia. Yes, he lifted a lot of bans to make the country more free, but that was all in the name of promoting tourism, and making investors, more likely to invest in his country's, companies and corporations and so on. But the guy basically all of his wealth, it's kind of like Dubai, Mohammed bin Salman has been trying to copy Dubai for a long time, trying to create all these, grand architectural feats and stuff. You look at something called the Line Neom. There's this company called Neom in Saudi Arabia, and they've been trying to develop all these different, high-tech futuristic structures, getting a bunch of famous people to talk about it. They basically want to build, all these like ultra futuristic structures around around Saudi Arabia to make it like Dubai. But the problem is it's out in a very hot desert in the middle of nowhere. And these projects that the leader of Saudi Arabia wants to complete are massive. They would cost trillions of dollars. And yes, it would bring in a lot of tourism. Yes, it would paint a positive light on Saudi Arabia. But nonetheless, if you have a bad leader running a country, that country is not going to last very long. And from what I've observed, anybody with the name Muhammad, anybody that reads the Quran, typically is, bound to be a failed leader. Or maybe they'll be a successful one, but their country won't last long. You just look at the whole Middle East. Other than Israel, they're doing pretty good so far. But Mohammed bin Salman invited a bunch of guests over to his country a few years ago. He let them stay at some, I think it was that $16 billion hotel, some really expensive, nice hotel. And he basically, brought security in and he forced them to stay there. He basically held his own guests hostage, until they emptied out their bank accounts, and deposited their money to him. And that was at a time when the country was really running out of money. And if you study his antics, his behaviors, his patterns, you'll understand who the Crown Prince Muhammad, really is. He's a man who always had money, because his father gave it to him. Muhammad he's no one special. There's nothing special about him. He's not a prophet of God like the Muhammad of the Bible. There's nothing special about him. Nothing that makes him, extraordinary. He doesn't have, as far as I'm aware, any special skills, any degree in financing or investing or politics or history or science or math. He doesn't have any degrees in anything important from what I've seen, as far as I'm aware. And because of that, and because of him always being given money by his father, and because of him having this extreme lust for luxurious things, the man is never going to stop. Doing whatever he can to get more money, and eventually the oil is going to run out. And that's where the country's money has primarily come from, is all that oil. Besides the oil running out, besides him, stealing from, guests that he invited to his own country back a few years ago when he was really starting to run out of money, or at least I think he was starting to run out of money despite having all that oil. I don't remember what the reasoning behind that was, the real reason behind it. But besides that, there was a war that he initiated because of some rebel groups that were in a neighboring country, and he had a problem with this. I think his generals, the people close to him, like advised him to do it, and he did so. And from what I remember, I think it kind of started to fail pretty miserably at first. I mean, and then it worked out fine in the end, I think. But he decided to start some attack. I think it was in Afghanistan or Syria or Iraq, or maybe it was either Iraq or Afghanistan or Syria. I'm pretty sure it was like some rebel groups in Syria that he was attacking, mainly with missiles and bomber planes, if I'm correct. But that didn't go so well. He's not a military expert, and yeah, it's good he listened to what his generals said. But I think the ways in which he's gone about things are not great. I don't think he has a very good track record. You can say, oh, look at how well Saudi Arabia is doing now compared to before. Yeah, it's doing well, but eventually the oil will run out. And if these projects in Saudi Arabia fail, and it doesn't end up being like the next Dubai, how do you think the country is going to end up? And it's not even so much about massive tourism and massive income. If you look at the personality, the psychology of Mohammed bin Salman, you'll come to learn, as I have, that the man is most certainly a sociopath and narcissist. I can't quite make out if he's a psychopath or not. I would assume he's not, but he's certainly a narcissist, at least that for sure. I definitely bet everything on that. The man is just obsessed with cars and expensive clothes and expensive homes and so on and on. He's absolutely infatuated with wealth and power, and I think it's no mystery that the man will do everything he can to keep his wealth and keep his power. And I can see this I can see his behaviors leading to more schemes and more manipulation, and it will lead to distrust in the government, and he'll basically just fold backwards his whole government. He'll basically turn the people in his own government against him because of his greed. The man is a very greedy, stingy crab, like Mr. Krabs from the SpongeBob show, and for certain, I could, I'd bet all my money on the inevitability that he will, there will come a time when he will massively anger his investors and massively anger the international community, anger the people in high government around him, because of his greed, either his greed or some desire of his to start some war, to take over land. I can see that happening. I can see some other Muslim group, which, funny thing, he's Muslim, and some other Muslim group will likely rise up and attack his country, and then he'll commit some war crimes and he'll be annexed or whatever. Something like that might happen, and then he'll get overthrown. Um, but I think likely because of his personality, he's gonna fuck everything up for himself, like he did with those investors and guests of his that he invited into his country to steal from. Um, and he'll do it again. If a person R words somebody, and they're capable of doing that, the RAPE word, right? If somebody's capable of doing that, I think there's no doubt in anyone's mind that somebody like that would do it again. If somebody had the capability to, stalk and kill someone just to get an adrenaline rush, like a serial killer, there's no doubt in my mind that somebody like that wouldn't do it again, or there's no doubt in my mind that they would do it again. I meant to say, um, you have to study, you have to follow people's behaviors and their nature. Once you understand their nature and you've looked at their history, what they've said, what they've done, where they've gone, who they've been around, then you can understand what they're likely to do in the future. And in my opinion, my very strong opinion, Saudi Arabia, its companies, its corporations, its governmental sectors are not worthwhile investments to invest in. This video is primarily geared towards leaders of countries outside of Saudi Arabia, countries around Saudi Arabia, and it's also geared towards investors, that either want to invest in or have invested in Saudi Arabia. In my opinion, I think that things will be fine for probably the next decade or two, maybe even longer. But in my opinion, eventually the oil is going to run out. The tourism is going to probably die down if these projects don't work out the way it's intended. It's not. I don't think these projects are going to end up looking like they present in these ads. I think it's going to end up looking like a half done job. It's not like It's not like Saudi Arabia produces China quality products, but the money that would actually have to be put into these projects to make them look like what they show in these videos and photos. I mean, it would be too expensive. The money's going to run out. Then they're going to have to sell the oil. The oil's going to run out, and they're still not going to have enough money to finish these projects, even probably halfway through. And then investors are going to pull out, and neighboring countries are going to probably back off, and then he's going to go back to stealing from other countries, stealing from guests of his. He's going to invite more people to the country and then steal money from them by threatening them indirectly, softly threatening them. And just look at his behaviors. He's not a good person to invest in. And by him, I mean like his country, his companies, his everything. There's nothing worthwhile in Saudi Arabia to invest in long term, at least long term. I've done a little investing, and I find it to be quite difficult to predict, how things are going to go in the stock market. But what I've found is following the behaviors of companies or individuals is better than observing the math, observing the statistics of how this or that stock goes up and down. So anyway, don't invest in anything Saudi Arabian, at least not long term. For now, it's fine to invest, but long term, I wouldn't do that. I think it's a very foolish idea. Just like people investing in the Chinese dollar, because the Chinese extreme poverty is going away. Oh, China's improving. They're look at all their building projects. Look at the wealth distribution in China that's increasing. But while at the same time there's all sorts of things going on in China that's actually making their monetary system, their money value go way down. If I'm correct, I think the Chinese dollar has almost never been as low as it is now. Same with the U.S. dollar. Inflation, plays a big role. But there's disguises. There's frauds and disguises and manipulation that plays a role in the Saudi Arabian empire's success. And in my opinion, it won't last long. So don't invest in Saudi Arabia. It's not going to last. And if the country does somehow manage to survive the next few centuries, it's probably going to end up becoming dilapidated. It's just going to become like a, like a, I don't know. It just might end up becoming like Lebanon or Syria, in my opinion. Or it'll end up becoming like Palestine at some point, probably. So yeah, don't invest in Saudi Arabia. Mohammed bin Salman is a psychopathic scam artist, or at least a sociopathic, narcissistic one, at bare minimum. And that's all I have to say. And check out my other videos. I make some great content. So yeah, like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.